Good morning. Man, one of the things I've got to do better, I've got to talk before I do the live stream. This is ridiculous. Have to clear your throat before you even start. Good Lord. Okay. Where are we at? Today is Tuesday. I'm checking because I have no idea. Tuesday, the 3rd of May. And time flies. My God. I mean, just yesterday was the 2nd. We're going to do something a little differently today. A little kind of thought experiment with a podcast that I'm going to be doing later today. Hopefully, if I get it right. So look forward to that. Let's go over some of the topics we're going to talk about today. We'll go over the mortgage rates. They were not good. That did not go well overnight. We'll talk about rental rates and how that's going, which is also not great. We'll look at luxury homes in Louisville, Kentucky, and then that should be it. We're going to talk about Redfin, but we're going to talk about it together. I say that, and there's nobody here, so it's going to be weird to talk about something that no one else is chatting with me about. But maybe someday you'll come along and we can chat and enjoy it. So. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Schenk. I am a real estate broker, real estate agent. I'm both. And I started a company, a real estate brokerage, Deerwood Realty. It's in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small brokerage. Our goal is to help our buyers and sellers more so than it is to grow our brokerage to 30 agents or anything like that. That's not why I did it. I also did it because there's so much silliness in I don't know how to explain it. There's so much silliness in let me get back here. There's so much silliness in the way real estate is covered. A couple different ways. One, in the media, as I show you daily, people who aren't real estate agents write articles about the broader scope, if that makes any sense. So they'll talk about how the numbers look like the really hot market has stopped or is going down, or the tide could be changing. And meanwhile, I'm out there and I just got outbid by like 3 other offers, and we're like $50,000 over asking. So, it's like, I don't care what the numbers say. I'm out here doing this, and I'm telling you that this is still ridiculous. Now, I can also tell you when things are terrible. But it's always as the perspective of, and I don't understand it. It's there's this odd bias. Oh man, and I didn't hit the record button. Damn it. That's no good. Now I got nothing to start my Twitter feed today. Ugh, the nerve. Oh well. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah, so the idea that the market is like hot, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, then that's typically we talk about that as a seller's market. And honestly, the thought just crossed my mind. I'm typically, in my business, I'm always the wrong direction. So if it's a really strong listing market, I'll have all kinds of buyers. When it's a really strong buyer's market, I'll have a lot of listings. I don't know why that is. I don't get it. But anyway, my point is that we talk about it being a hot market, and it's always in the bias of the sellers. And I've always thought that's kind of interesting because, like, if you're a buyer right now, it's the worst market in the world. And I mean that for a number of different ways. One, you're trying to buy a house, and you know that if it's available the first weekend, you have to be over asking by a lot. And then when you're over asking, you're probably not going to appraise the house. The process is probably not going to appraise. And so now we're over asking, and we have to fill an appraisal gap. So, it really kills affordability. If you could afford a $200,000 home with a mortgage, you probably can only afford like $150,000, $160,000 home. when there's an appraisal gap. So that's problematic. But this idea of a hot market is always in the seller's favor. That's the way it's been all my life. It was not considered a hot market when the foreclosure crisis hit. It wasn't, but people were buying up real estate left and right. In fact, there were government rules against investors purchasing real estate. Now, what's going to be fascinating this time around is, are those same rules going to apply to the Wall Street banks that are buying everything now? I'd be really curious to know that, because I remember the last time, like I put together a group of people to go buy foreclosures, and we couldn't touch anything that was part of Freddie or Fannie. There was a 30-day wait for investor purchases. Like, you couldn't get anything unless you broke the law, and I don't particularly want to break the law. It's not worth it to me. So I'm just curious, when stuff hits the fan this time, are they going to let BlackRock and all these companies just come in and buy everything, and it's going to be totally cool? Probably. I knew the answer before I even said it. So anyway, talked to a friend last night, and he was saying that he thinks that based on Zillow, his house is worth, let's just say $200,000. It was, let's change. Let's say $300,000, make it more interesting. And I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. And I know the house, and I know what he paid and everything. He's sitting really pretty with equity. And I mean, as a real estate broker sitting there at a party, do you think I'm going to tell my friend, like, oh, like, Zillow's ridiculous? Don't necessarily believe Zillow. But he said himself, he said, but they haven't ever been in my house and they don't really know. And so I was thinking, yes, that's exactly true. And the house is probably worth a little less. But he thought about it in a different way. He thought about it as, well, if they did come into my house, obviously the house would be worth more. And it's true. I mean, we value the things we own, or we think we own. Let's be honest. When you own a house with a mortgage, you own a payment. You get the right to pay for something for 30 years at a fixed rate. If you've got a fixed rate mortgage, if you don't, you get the right to pay something. You're paying rent or something to someone. That's why the argument for like purchasing versus renting always gets kind of, to me, confused. If you're buying a house and paying a mortgage payment for 30 years, and then at the end you get the house and you have done no repairs the entire time you've owned the house, what do you really have? You have a very dated house that needs money to be put into it. But what happens if you rent? Well, now you may live in a dated apartment for many, many years, and they may change the rents on you. But for the most part, that's I think the fallacy of home ownership on that perspective. Now, my own opinion is it's still better to have that chance that you actually own a property at the end of the day than, and even if it is dated and miserable, it is still better than having to make payments forever, which is what you would be doing with a lease. In theory, I guess you could always refinance and whatevs. But we're going to go over the rent rates and what's really kind of, I wouldn't say killing the market, but what's causing some real issues is, okay, if the housing market is hot and you need a place to live, you need a roof over your head, then it would seem to reason that perhaps you should go to rent something for a while until the market changed. But what happens when the rent's rising as fast or faster than home purchases? Typically, rents are more expensive than a home purchase. And so that's why, as a real estate agent, I'll market like, hey, make lower payments and own something. It makes perfect sense. And I don't think that's wrong with advertising. Maybe you do. For example, if you're paying $1,500 to rent something, and we can get you into something for $1,200, $1,100 a month, it's a savings of $400, at least monthly. I mean, if you decide to fix up your home, or if you decide not to fix up, that's on you. But I'm just saying I don't think that that's deceptive advertising. The problem now is the house prices are rising so fast, and the rent, there's no respite in the rental market. There's no massive occupancies in rentals right now. So that's called, I mean, it's demand. It's driving everything. People want to move out. People want to buy. People are not accustomed to not getting what they want, especially the children that are kind of ready to buy houses now. I mean, children, I don't mean it as an insult. I should have said generation perhaps, but these people are used to getting everything that they want all the time. And it's like, I want that house. Can't have that house. Well, I'll pay more for it. And no, even if you paid more for it, you're not getting it. Well, I'll really, really pay more for it. And that's kind of what we're seeing. So I don't know. It's fascinating. When will it stop? I don't know. I heard that used to be Vanilla Ice. You remember Vanilla Ice? Yeah. Anyway, I also, while I was at the party last night, got a text from one of my agents, Jan. You know Jan. I talk about Jan all the time. She had made an offer on a property with her clients, and we were kind of excited. We thought that it's possible that the market may have turned a little. And so she wrote an offer on a house, and I don't know what the asking price was, and I was not going to go look because I was afraid. This is probably expensive. I got a text during the party. We didn't get it. 13 offers, multiple of them were $75,000 over asking, and we only went $55,000 over. That's the market. I don't care if somebody in New York City or some college-educated PhD researcher sees this in the data 2 months from now. I'm telling you right now, it's still pretty strong for old sellers in this market. I mean, come on. And by the way, when I was in my, the good times of real estate, when things were going well for me, I mean, we'd see multiple offers, and that would be 2 or 3. And then the other thing was, always for me at least, if there's multiple offers on a property back then, 2 or 3, we would just go put an offer in on another house where there was only 2 or 3 offers. And back then, one of the offers would have been below asking. So to me, the market is stupid. Now, you say, well, John, if you think the market is so bad, why are you helping people buy houses right now? Why don't you sit at home and not? Well, I know this sounds crazy, but people actually need housing at times. They have leases that are going to come up. They're starting a new family. They're, they've got things they're wanting to do, and they want to be in a single family home. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, who are you to criticize, what these people are motivated by? And you say, well, yeah, but John, the smart move is to, wait. It's like, well, people can't wait. Not going to work. So, people have to buy houses. The market's terrible. What I tell people all the time, even when the market's not terrible for buyers, is look, if you're going to live in the house 5 years, or you're planning on living there 5 years, buy the house. If you're thinking about moving in a year, don't buy the house. It's that simple. It's that simple. You have to have time to see how this all plays out. And you may need 10 years. You never know. You never know. So anyway, that is where I'm at kind of in the market today. I'm going to go look at a condo this afternoon. And I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be. It's back on the market, and that's what I'm seeing. I mean, these are anecdotal things. What I'm seeing in St. Louis is that properties that have gone under contract are coming back on the market for whatever reason. Either an inspection report goes south, or something like that. So, it to me, it seems like if it's a strong house, it's still going to bring multiple offers. If it's a terrible house, it may bring one or two offers, but they're going to be asking or a little bit above. So why not list? That's been one of the things that people are criticizing, which is kind of interesting. And it's like, why aren't there enough houses now? Like, what's going on? What could it possibly be that we all of a sudden don't have enough houses? I wonder. What could it possibly be? I guess I don't know. But it's, are we going to build more houses? And the other thing that's, I think, questionable. So, like, I live in St. Louis, okay? But I live in the suburbs. Now, even if I lived in the city, it wouldn't matter because I would live in a single family home. And my question to all of you is that the goal? A single family home? And if that's the goal, then we have an issue with property density. So, can you have, if you have all these condos being built, okay? I'm not complaining about that, but is that your goal, to live in a condo the rest of your life? Is that the same thing? Is that the American dream? I bought a condo and I'm just asking. I don't know the answer. So, like, we can build a lot of condos. We can build a lot of units faster on a smaller footprint of land. And we can have much more property density, much more density. But is that what we want? Is that what people ultimately strive for? Will that solve this current housing problem that we have? I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like when I look into my mind's eye, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. When I think about things, I always think about myself in terms of a single family home. Like, all of my life, I would just consider myself, and it would be uncomfortable to the idea that I would live in a condo. I've thought about it, but what I'm saying is this in a perspective of aspirational purchase. Do we want the single family home? Is that what drives us? What motivates us? I don't know. I don't have an answer, but I feel like it does. Now, feeling and facts are two different things, and you've heard facts don't care about your feelings, and we could argue what a fact is, but it's one of those things where if you have to have single family homes, okay, then it's a question of, like, how do you do that? How do you take parts of a city where the industry is totally gone and manufacturing is totally gone, the industrial properties, and tear them down and build single family homes? How does that happen? We've seen some townhouses and things of that nature being built in areas like that in St. Louis, but it's not been that single family home that everybody seems to want. Okay, well, now let's go over some things. Let's go over our Google trends. Now, it's the 3rd of May, and you probably, like, the reason why I did the Google search trends was not because I wanted to do the most searched article of the day. I never wanted to do that. It was that I don't know everything, and I like to expand my knowledge by seeing things that are fascinating, that are outside of my understanding. So let's just say my understanding is in kind of 2 areas. One, like residential real estate sales. I kind of understand that. Okay. And then I would say employment issues. I have a pretty good understanding of employment in the United States and around the world, and maybe not the law, but just, I have a live stream channel, and that's all we talk about is employment. So those are 2 things that I know about. But what I don't know about is I've really not been watching a lot of sports since they went woke. not been watching a lot of like entertainment, like if I see something on Netflix, it's because it's recommended to me, and I started watching it and I like it. It's not because there's not a large discussion about it. I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones and probably never will, just because the hype around it versus, even if it's the greatest show ever, I'm almost, the hype was ridiculous. So, but, what we found a lot on Google search trends is this: always an obituary, always someone dies. And so there's always an obituary for that. Always sports dominates. Most of the time will dominate the weekend starting on Friday. But if it's like the playoffs for some league or something, we'll get that. Movies and actors and celebrities get just a tremendous amount of pull on the search results. And then that's kind of it. If it's not those things, you're not going to see it on the trends. But also there are major like court decisions and things of that nature. And so I never wanted this part of the show to be about like hard news analysis about a current event. And I'm just not that person. In fact, when something gets to be amplified to the levels that like today's news of the day is, I really don't want to have anything to do with it. Why? Well, there's 350 million people in the United States, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. And then everyone's entitled to have their opinion shaped by the media they view and consume, I guess, because that's what happens. And when you have that divergence of views, okay, manufactured or not, it takes away from, like, it's not interesting at that point. And so I'm not going to do it. I'm just not. I mean, do I have opinions about things? Sure. But in the context of like a major news story, it gets to be like buffoonery. It's not that I'm too good for the news. It's not that. It's that it's just, we're past, like, it's like a parody. It makes a parody of itself. And I just don't want to be involved with it at that point. So I'm never going to cover unless what could happen. The only thing I could see is if I covered something, sometimes it could be, it's just blowing up and I'm talking about it because I don't realize that it's going to get to be as big as it is. So this is my kind of apology / explanation / understanding of the way I'm going to do the show. And that is, I'm not interested in the major news of the day solely for the clicks or for that value. I am more interested in kind of broadening my horizons about things that I don't know or wouldn't otherwise be aware of. And I'm really thirsty this morning, and I don't know why. I'm a little worried. Oy. Okay, so let's get into it. Oh man. See, I knew I was doing something wrong. And I have not read this article, so don't at me. Here we go. It says fans rip Ulta Beauty for shocking email about Kate Spade's suicide. Now, I'm just going to tell you what I know ahead of time. So, number one, Ulta Beauty to me is like they sell like makeup and hair and stuff like that, products. It's like a shop for cosmetologists, but it's not because they have their own shops. This is my understanding. I could be totally wrong. And then Kate Spade was a lady that was a designer, and she committed suicide. And I don't remember when. I'm going to say it was like 2 or 3 years ago, but time flies. The other thing is Kate Spade, the brand, was sold like years ago to someone. And then, they made all the money in theory because they had the distribution channels. This could be totally wrong. Okay. I'm just telling you what I know about this. Okay. So, let's continue. Now, what's weird is it says in living, but this person's dead. Okay. Ulta Beauty is attempting to make up with fans. I don't know if they did that like intentionally, like makeup, like anyway, after ugly backlash over its latest tone deaf email promotion. Okay. The cosmetics mega company sent out an email for a Kate Spade perfume on Sunday that unintentionally alluded to the designer's suicide. Ulta's message to customers read, "Come hang with Kate Spade," along with a sale for a beauty. Come hang with Kate Spade. Now, I don't know how Kate Spade committed suicide. Oh, and it says it next. Oh, that's bad. All right. Like, see, I did not know how the suicide was committed. So it didn't mean anything to me. I'm almost crying now because it's so bad. Come hang with Kate Spade was the email address. And then it says right here, Spade died by suicide when she hanged herself in 2018. She was 55. Wow. That was bad. That was bad. I think that any normal person reading their email that would have known that Kate Spade hanged herself, which I didn't know, but if I did and they wrote, "Come hang with Kate Spade," wow, that takes your breath away as like foot in the mouth, like yikes. And I suspect that the backlash was instant, like the minute that the email went out. And I'm pretty sure they have like probably at least 100 people on their email list. It's not like Deerwood Realty's newsletter list. I mean, I think we're rocking like 63 people, and most of them are like friends and family. But like this is terrible. It's not terrible from a, let's just assume, let's assume in the goodness of people, and let's assume that they didn't do that on purpose. Like it was just a really bad setup. Fascinating. Should someone be fired because of this? Someone? Like, I don't know who. Anyway, here we go. The beauty behemoth, let's see how they handled it. The beauty behemoth apologized in a statement to the Post on Monday. Ulta Beauty recently sent an email featuring Kate Spade New York fragrance with an insensitive subject line, and for this we sincerely apologize. Mental health is a very serious, important issue in this country and not something we would ever take lightly. We apologize to the Spade family, our Kate Spade New York brand partners, and to our guests. Thank you for understanding as we strive to do better. Let's go over the statement because, I mean, these people are getting paid a lot of money to write this statement. And so I'd like, they're professionals. So let me try to break this down. So, sent an email featuring Kate Spade's New York fragrance with an insensitive subject line, and for this we sincerely apologize. Okay. All right, I think I would go with that. Then, mental health is a very serious, important issue in this country and not something we would ever take lightly. I don't think that belongs in there. It's not for you to decide what the issue is in the United States with regards to mental health. Are you trying to advocate for a position when instead you should be apologizing? I mean, that's the issue to me here. Mental health is a very serious, important issue. It is, but it's got nothing to do with your apology. We apologize to the Spade family, our Kate Spade New York brand partners, and our guests. I think that's fine. That's fine. It's the middle one that doesn't need to be there. Thank you for your understanding as we strive to do better. I wouldn't even put that there. I think, and by the way, when you want to talk about the woke culture mob And when you want to talk about all those kinds of things, the cancel culture and all that stuff, like that's crazy. Okay. Never apologize for something you didn't do. It was in poor taste. Not on purpose, perhaps. But it's really bad to me because it says with an insensitive subject line. It's almost like they knew and they just forgot. Anyway, let's look at the angst and animosity. I can't believe I got this email today. Is this some kind of sick joke? How insensitive and absolutely tone deaf. Apparently nobody in marketing and Ulta remembers how Kate Spade died. I mean, on a larger scale, should you remember how someone died? Or should you just remember that they're dead? I mean, does how you die in a suicide matter? It's still, the end result is death, and that's not great. Fans were appalled by the reference and expressed outrage on social media. How disgusting to use for clickbait, wrote one, believing the message was written intentionally. And then that was the next part is the quote that I just read. And then another chimed in. I just got this email. This is wrong of Ulta Beauty. Kate Spade committed suicide by hanging herself. Now this is, I know I'm starting on a sensitive subject. To me, when someone passes away by suicide, normally there's a statement that comes out. So-and-so has passed away. The family requests privacy at this time. And so I feel like a decent human being, I say, okay, that's done. Not interested in talking about this anymore. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't care how they died. So it wouldn't be obvious to me that she died of hanging herself. It's terrible. Just terrible. And then Ulta Beauty probably having a meltdown, realizing that someone sent out a promo email with the subject line, "Come hang with Kate Spade." Someone's losing their job. Are they? Are they? Do we even know if the corporate of Ulta Beauty is even doing their own social media, if they're doing it in-house? Perhaps they're paying for someone else. It says, Ulta Beauty blanked up with their Kate Spade email. Not only did I get a metric blank ton of emails all night, but the headline was bull tea. Ulta gives no care to the mental health community. Kate Spade or her family grows. Well, there you go. There you go. So now, it says designer in the little thing underneath the picture. It says Kate Spade suffered from anxiety and depression for several years before her death. Again, I don't know anything about it, and I don't really. I mean, can you just apologize for an insensitive remark and move on by it? I mean, we don't need. Throwing the mental health thing on there is the thing that I just don't get. It says, as May marks Mental Health Awareness Month, another noted Kate Spade was amazing and an icon. Your lack of attention to detail is sad at best, negligent and hurtful at worst. Do better. Oh, I think that this was hurtful. I think it was hurtful and negligent. I don't know. Again, I mean, is a corporation responsible for knowing the death of how someone died at all times? Like, so, I mean, are we going to go back to the fellow that got, what was his name? Oh, man. He was from Detroit, too. Houdini. You know how Houdini died? Somebody punched him in the stomach. Like, that's how he died. Like, are we going to just, I mean, I remember that, but he didn't commit suicide. I don't know. But I mean, basically, it was like in the 1920s or something when he passed. I mean, that's my point. Is, I mean, if we're going to go through, how did Charlie Chaplin pass away? You know, of old age, or it's just the point is they're dead. Criticizing the critics currently disseminating the promo. One insistence, sharing that Ulta Beauty Kate Spade email is honestly worse than Ulta sending it, in my opinion, because someone in the comments who would have never seen it otherwise literally said they were triggered by it. That person should have just emailed Ulta. Okay, so then this this is a criticizing of the critics. Okay. I'm learning, please. I don't understand this stuff. It's past my ability. So then, because someone took a moment to tweet how this was terrible, and Ulta responded, let's say they publicly, I don't know that it was on Twitter, but on social media, let's say, because of you publicizing the faux pas, let's just call it a faux pas, then you should not do that, because you are amplifying the negative situation and possibly giving Ulta more brand recognition than they would otherwise be entitled to for making such a terrible mistake. Do you really, now you're here and I'm here. Do you really think between the two of us, between you and me, that someone's going to say, hey, and it's not a cheeky brand or anything like that. This is just like a straight corporate brand. Do you really think that they're going to say, how can we get clicks? Let's write something. I mean, it's hard to even come up with something so negative as to say, come hang with us when the person died of hanging. That's just tough. At the time of the fashion icon's death, her family sent out a statement saying, to most of the world, she was Kate Spade, the beautiful embodiment of her brand and a glamorous culture icon. Well, does that belong in the article? Kate Spade founded the brand with husband Andy Spade in the early 90s, putting up her own money to launch their line of preppy, colorful handbags, which they hustled together at trade shows for years until the likes of Barney's and Stax would carry them, and without the help of celebrity endorsements, as so many brands rely on these days. So, let's just go with Deerwood Realty. I put up my own money every day to get this thing off the ground, and no one cares. I'm just saying, no one cares. The duo sold their stake in Kate Spade to Neiman Marcus in 2006, by then already considered iconic, and expanded beyond bags to include other accessories, clothing, and home goods. Andy released his own statement at the time of Kate's death, explaining that there were personal demons she was battling. Kate suffered from depression and anxiety for many years. She was actively seeking help and working closely with her doctors to treat her disease, one that takes too many lives, he wrote in 2018. So that's weird to me. How do you drag up 2018 quotes to, and this is it. Now, don't take this the wrong way. Don't get mad at me. Okay. So here we're having this article. Kate Spade. Bad thing that happened. Okay. So then on New York Post, which I'm reading, here it says more on Kate Spade. Save 25% on Coach and Kate Spade. Shop Kate Spade styles with extra 40% off now. 25 best holiday gifts to shop at Kate Spade. Bags, jewelry, and more. Kate Spade takes up 70% of handbags and accessories for surprise sale. See how it's like you're still in this world of advertising and consumerism. You're upset that someone died, which is fair and reasonable. And it's not, you should be upset that someone died. This is fair. And then you're upset that someone else used the death the tragedy of the death as a marketing tool. But that's arguable. We don't know that. But then now, by reporting the news, you are advertising for the products. This is the insanity of the world today. It's not a criticism. I hope you understand. It's like I'm living in this life, and it's just bizarre to me. Okay, that's about all I can say about this one. We'll move on. Louisville, Kentucky. I don't know if we've seen this house before. 13-acre lot, $5.75 million, 4 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, 7,161 square feet. It's been on the market 178 days. It's quite possible I've seen it before. 44 pictures. Let's look at the property details. Seldom does a stately home with this stately home is maybe a hint of this history and this caliber become available. Here it is, secluded on 13 acres of gorgeous mature trees. almost adjacent to Louisville Country Club, is the heart of the Mockingbird, in the heart of the Mockingbird Valley area. This is truly a treasure. If these walls could talk, they would take you through the Great Depression, World War II, the fabulous 50s, and all the decades following, stalwart right up to this day. Now, I could make a joke right now that would be insensitive. The Grand Dame has had a thoughtful and professional skin-in renovation over the past few years to bring her front and center into the lifestyle of the next generation. Designed by E.T. Hutchins and built in 1929, she awaits her next steward. The original specification book still exists, citing materials and techniques used in the construction. ! Privacy abounds, with views of nature from every enormous window, including the arched French doors of the solarium. There are 4 fireplaces on the first floor, a walnut-paneled library, al fresco porch with arched brick openings, and a wraparound terrace to enhance the large, comfortable main rooms. An elevator has been added for access to 3 levels. The 3rd floor has been heated and cooled, waiting for your ideas for its new purpose and use. So, like, the owners are like, we're out of ideas. We don't know what to do with this. You know, what's fascinating when you look at a house built in 1929 is the way people thought about houses. I mean, look at that beautiful kitchen. Very nice. You know, sometimes you see like a kitchen isn't very big in some of these homes. Then there's all these rooms kind of like, you know, meshed together, whereas people now would like maybe more of an open floor plan. People liked wallpaper. I mean, that's a huge bathroom. And it has been updated. I don't disagree. I mean, you got a subway tile in the shower. I mean, it's nice. Now that's the one thing that like washer and dryer is kind of And then, you know, here's your outdoor space. And compare that to what we're seeing now in multi-million-dollar homes with their outdoor space. It's just, you know, it's not what we're seeing on the top homes throughout America. 4.9 million, 5 bedrooms, 6.5 baths, 11,698 square feet on about a 5-acre lot. 132 pictures is way too many. 60 days on the market. I'll look at the property. No, I won't. Property details are way too much for me to pay attention to. Property history. Listed in 2020, removed in 2022, listed again in March of this year. What do we got here? I mean, 12,000. Well, there's an infinity pool. Okay. All right. I'll take it. I do like the infinity pool. I don't understand how they do it. I think that's maybe why I like it. But I mean, like maybe that's the guest house because that kitchen's not very big. Well, it's like a little bar with a micro. I don't know. Where are we in this house? Are we even in the main house? There's a hammock. I mean, 132 pictures is just too much. I'm not doing anymore. I mean, I'm sure it's a nice house. 4 million, 6 bedrooms, 5.5 or 6.5 baths, 12,423 square feet on a 5-acre lot. Okay. Let's see if they, okay. So we got 90 pictures. The people in Louisville tend to like pictures of properties. Listed in 2022. Okay. This is the home you've been waiting for, a former stone cottage. It was framed in steel and completely rebuilt, incorporating history with modern day materials to create this masterpiece. Remodeled in 2020 with stunning updates, including new mechanicals, new electronics, flooring, kitchen update, new appliances, sub-zero refrigerator, a stunning 800 square foot sitting room addition with views over the yard, the whole home generator. The list goes on. Built on 5 acres, a stone's throw from the Ohio River, mature landscaping, in-ground heated saltwater pool house with bathroom, tennis court, multiple balconies, patios, and porches. This sprawling mansion is spacious yet intimate, serene and peaceful, convenient to everything. 6 beds, 8 baths, finished walkout, sauna, steam room, wine cellar, dumbwaiter, theater. Just too much to mention. Come and see for yourself. All right. Well, former cottage. Now it's got not cottage. So we went with contemporary in the design now. Okay, here's your kitchen. I don't know what that is. I mean, that's interesting. That's a table, I guess. A very interesting idea. Take a house that, buy it for $2 million, fix it up, and charge $4 million for it. I'm just going to put this out there. This bear thing, it creeps me out every time. I see him a lot. It just creeps me out. Somebody asked me, "Hey, John, would you put a stuffed bear in your house, for a listing? Pictures?" No, probably not. Oh, look at that. I don't know what to make of that. Oh, see, I have the attention span of a gnat. So this isn't doing me any good. I quit. There's 40 other pictures. I don't know. Let's look back at the thing. Let's see what we're at. We're in a range between 5 million and 4 million. The 13 acres is what makes the one house. The other two, if I had a choice, I don't know. Neither one of them really caught my fancy. They're in different zip codes. All three of these are in different zip codes. 40207, 40059, and 40222. So it's not like we can do a real good comparison, like they're on the same street or something. I got to check the chat. Okay, there's no one. Let's continue. Have you all looked at mortgage rates today? Well, I'm on dealwithrealtystl.com, and it looks like the 30-year fixed raised 14 basis points from yesterday, and we're now sitting at 5.55%. If it does happen to get to 6%, it's going to wipe people out on the buying. Not a complaint, just an observation. Let's get into our article. The Realtor.com March rental report, U.S. rental prices soared by nearly 20% in just 2 years. National rents hit a new high of $1,807 in March. Sunbelt metros topped the list of biggest 2-year rent gains, beating out large tech hubs. This is out of Santa Clara, California, and it's from Newswire. That's who distributed it. U.S. rental prices grew by nearly 20% from March 2020 to 2022 during the pandemic, according to the Realtor.com monthly rental report released today. Additionally, their 2-year rental trends indicate some redistribution of higher rents across the 50 largest markets during COVID as renters migrated from expensive big tech cities to relatively more affordable areas. Sunbelt metros topped the list of fastest growing rental markets from March 20 to March 2022, led by Miami, Riverside, California, and Tampa, Florida, while big tech hubs posted many of the country's smallest 2-year gains. With asking rents nearly 1.2 times higher than 2 years ago, our March data highlights rising rental affordability faced by many Americans today. I have to cough. Said Realtor.com chief economist Daniel Hale. At the same time, March rental trends offer early signs of relief from the feverish pace of rent growth, which moderated year over year for the second month in a row. We expect cooling to continue over time, but the jury is still out on whether rent growth will hit single digits by the end of 2022. This is largely due to the mismatch between rental supply with vacancy rates at record lows and demand rising as some would-be buyers potentially turn to renting in the face of higher home prices and mortgage rates. While the jobs market is strong, it's unlikely that we'll see enough income growth to keep rents under 30% of monthly paychecks, especially with higher inflation and everyday costs. Still, there is a silver lining for renters, just as rents won't be able to sustain an accelerated pace if incomes can't keep up. That's not a good situation. Like, people are spending more and more money of their income on rents. Okay. And home payments for that matter. what happens when they don't have enough money to do that and still live their lives? Like they're at 30% of their monthly paycheck. I mean, do you have savings? Do you have anything else? Bad situation. But what's funny to me is, so I own my own business, okay? And there are months when I don't make money. Like I don't even come close. In fact, I lose money. And you say, well, it's a paper loss. No, I mean, like I literally made no money. Like there's no income. And you say, well, that's not a way to run a business. I say, no, I agree with that. But like, you're not going to get me to worry about someone spending 30% of their monthly paycheck because I don't get a monthly paycheck. Like I don't feel sorry for people when I don't have to worry about it myself. I mean, I don't get a monthly paycheck. I don't even get a weekly paycheck. Now, some of you out there my age will say, well, but for that, you have the chance to make unlimited money. Yep, that's true. I have the chance, the opportunity. Let's continue. Rents grow by nearly 20% in the 2 years since the pandemic began. The U.S. median rental price hit a new high of $1,807 in March, up 19.3% in just 2 years, highlighting a roller coaster ride of change since the pandemic began. Following a slowdown in 2022, at the onset of COVID, rents significantly made up lost ground in 2021 and have since maintained a feverish pace of annual growth. In fact, March marked the 8th consecutive month of double-digit annual rent gains, even as the pace moderated slightly over February. Although the underlying reasons have shifted over the course of the pandemic, data suggests that renting remains a popular option for Americans who desire flexibility. With the rise in remote work earlier on, renting offered an attractive option for those looking to explore living in relatively affordable markets further from big tech cities. Now that for-sale home prices and mortgage rates are climbing, many would-be buyers are turning to renting and driving up rental prices. In March, rents grew nearly 4 times faster than in March 2022, or in March in 2020. So 17% versus 4.3%. I'm just going to make sure that you guys can read it on the screen so you know that, I mean, you may not have liked my reading, but you can see it. And then pandemic drives some redistribution from this fastest. I'm sorry. Good Lord. Slow down. Pandemic drives some redistribution of the fastest growing rental markets. Among the 50 largest U.S. metros, COVID rental rates indicate some redistribution of high rents from the bigger tech cities to relatively more affordable metros outside of major downtowns. In March, big tech cities accounted for none of the top 10 metros' highest 2-year rent growth. Instead, this list was dominated by Sunbelt markets led by Miami with an increase of 58% over March of 2020. I have people in my family that say they're moving to Miami, and I'm like, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Economics are really, really weird, okay? And like right now what we're seeing is really, 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 really weird in the housing market in St. Louis in the sense that we're seeing multiple offers, many $1,000s over asking. And we're not even in a place where there's like a lot of growth. Where there's a lot of growth, the economy is even going to be more bonkers. Anyway, additionally, big tech cities represented 5 of the 10 slowest growing markets from 2020 to 2022. Despite these setbacks, many major tech hubs continue to command some of the nation's highest rents. Even San Jose, where rents remain largely unchanged from March 2020 levels, claimed the country's highest median rent. Still, March rental data signals some final opportunities for renters to find savings in major metros like San Francisco, where rents for studios and one beds declined over March of 2020. But why is that? Why is there a perceived discount in San Francisco right now? Have you seen the news? That's just it. I mean, come on, like to actually write something like that and say, oh, there's value here. But why is the value? Why is there value? You should be saying that too. Or offer up some hypothesis for why you think that might be. You don't have to trash the city. Just say like, hey, maybe things aren't so great in San Francisco right now. Would that be wrong? With booming employment and the growing back to office wave stoking demand, big rents are back in big tech cities. Still, our March data suggests select tech hubs like San Francisco might still offer bargains. Did I already read that? No. On studios relative to pre-COVID rents. And for some, such as Gen Zers striking out on their own, even small rental savings could make large difference, said George Ratu, Realtor.com senior economist and manager of economic research. Regardless of your stage in life, with rising prices taking a bigger bite out of paychecks, it's important to stay focused on financial help by keeping rental costs to a smaller percentage of your take-home pay. A tool like the Realtor.com rental app can help you customize your search and gets alerts about newly listed rentals in your budget. So it became an advertisement. Isn't that fantastic? No complaints. I think that's the best way to average. Information advertising is what I would call it. I think it's great. Okay, now we're going to do the last thing. We're going to talk about it. And we talked about it yesterday. I read about it, but I didn't understand. I want to talk to you, my loyal viewers, about this first. I'm going to put it together a podcast. Okay. That's not up for debate. Now look, you can see this on my screen. I'm guessing you can. So part of me says that I should use Streamlabs when I'm doing my post today, when I'm doing my podcast, because I can pull up the court case. Okay. Now, I wanted to go over this because I wanted to try and, first of all, how was I going to format it? Like, how was I going to show the people what's going on? That's number one. Number two, let me just tell you what happened from my perspective. So I was reading this article. It wasn't this particular one yesterday. It was a different one, but I was reading this one afterwards. So what happened was I saw that Redfin got fined for fair housing, and I thought, well, that's got to be BS. Why would any national real estate brokerage discriminate against people in 2022? And I looked at it from my own perspective. Like, I can never do anything like wrong in my company that would be against the law, because like literally I am a very small fish in a very large pond. If I do something wrong, I go out of business like the next day. If Redfin goes out of the business, or if Redfin does something wrong, they get a slap on the wrist and they're allowed to continue. And I really don't think that this story is getting any traction whatsoever. I think it should be amplified. How can a large corporation discriminate against people in 2022? How can that be allowed? How can we accept that? You know, there's people right today that are calling Redfin agents and asking to list with them because they're quote unquote cheaper or some other reason. And, you know, they're not going to be punished in any way. And the people might even feel virtuous using this company to do their real estate business, to list homes, to help them buy a home. It's really disgusting. It's really disgusting. And it's kind of, in the way I think, at least, this is kind of the problem with the broader world in the country. I mean, the idea that this company is so large that they will be able to litigate, a very, digital redlining or redlining in any type, which is the practice of keeping from doing business in some particular area due to some particular characteristics you're not all that interested in. That's bad. So let's continue to go through it, though. It says, like, for instance, if anybody files suit against me, I'm out of business because I can't fight it. If anybody goes to suit against Redfin, they just hire an army of lawyers. It's really tough. It's really hard to deal with over time. It says, like, so I want to give credit to this article when we're talking about how I want to do this podcast. I want to give credit to this article because I think it's fascinating. It says, for prospective homebuyers, the online search portal and real estate brokerage Redfin is a go-to research source, listing in more than and so it says who they are. Okay. But the Fast Company article paints them as a tech company. And the first paragraph says, the listings can be browsed easily with a monthly average of more than 47 million users, according to the company's annual report. So that's how they've laid the stage. And then says, but in certain markets, search results had a big caveat. Redfin would show the listings, but due to what it called minimum price limit, the company declined to make full range of its services available, including the real estate agents, professional photos, and promotion. that disproportionately affected homes in non-white areas. Now, that's all I really saw in all these other articles. Okay. It was not until I read the third paragraph of this article, where after I'd already done some of the live stream yesterday talking about this, I think I might have even read like a Redfin press release. Okay. Crazy. So then when I read this paragraph, this is what set me off on perhaps doing a podcast on it. It says that policy resulted in Redfin predominantly not providing services in Black and Latino areas and predominantly offering service in white areas. Now, I don't want to do Black and Latino. I'll just do underrepresented, communities, because what about the Asian community? What about, there's so many different communities out there. I don't think that we should limit it to Black and Latino areas. I'm just uncomfortable with that. But anyway, it says, then it's now this is a quote from the lawyer that was suing Redfin. Now, I read it with a grain of salt when it said, for example, in the majority minority city of Chicago, the minimum price threshold was set at $400,000, while in the neighboring DuPage County, the threshold was just $275,000. In the majority Black city of Detroit, where I lived in the city of Detroit. I'm not Black, but I did live there for at least 6 years. The minimum price was $700,000, while outside city borders, that limit was just $250,000. Redfin defended this policy, arguing that limiting its activities by price is the only fair way for the company to operate profitably. Now, like in Detroit, when I lived there were houses that sold for literally like maybe $10,000, and there were bad parts of the town, bad parts of the city, no question. But if you've ever lived in Detroit, you will learn weird things about how things go. And one of those things is when you're in Detroit, I was a minority in Detroit, but the way that people talk about Detroit on the outside, it's like a parent-child relationship. Like the city of Detroit can't do anything right ever, and everyone else outside of the city tells the city how to live their lives. It's a very, very strange thing. And so I want to put that in the podcast somehow. And I also want to put in the podcast that $700,000 is about 4 neighborhoods in Detroit, or at least it was in the 2000s. I mean, we're not talking about a lot of area here. So the company literally just isn't operating in certain parts of the city. Now, they say that it's limiting activities by price because it's the only fair way for the company to operate profitably. Well, if you're a national real estate brokerage, which I believe they are, and it's very odd to me, you tell people because your house is only worth X, we will not do business with you. That's not even necessary. That's not really fair. Okay. It's not really fair. Perhaps there's a reason. And this goes into a larger, and that's what I wanted to talk about more. This goes into a larger fact pattern or perception of communities not getting, like always being held down by something. And what I mean by that is if you don't have good real estate representation, okay, then you might sell your property for less, okay, which let's just say furthers negative stereotypes about a community, and then add to that lower appraisals, which means the people that live there aren't benefiting from like just living there. They're not getting the equity, in living in a house that some other community would, that is represented by a company such as Redfin. This is, this to me is pretty much unforgivable. Now, in this article, in my presentation, I want to talk about how Deerwood Realty handles clients. Okay. So let's just say that somebody lives in a crappy part of town and they say, John, can you list my house? Well, are you a nice person? Are you nice to me? I mean, from a business perspective, I mean, are you just a decent person? And if they say yes, I'll operate on a loss just to take the listing. You say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it doesn't. It's not good business sense, I guess. But I believe in people. Like, I believe in the relationship between me and another person. I don't like the corporate aspect of it. It's the same thing as like, John, will you help me buy a house? Well, we have to do things a little different. Like, say if you say you want me to help you buy a house that's less than like $20,000. Okay. First of all, I don't even know if I don't even know if there's a payout. So I don't know if I can. And then second of all, like, we might be able to make it work. You're going to have to go look at houses. You're going to have to go drive by every house. And then you're going to have to call me and say, this is the house that I want to see and I want to make an offer on. Okay. And then I will write up an offer for you. If you're pre-approved, if you have the cash, all these things. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm discriminating against anything. Now, understand, I only have so many hours in the day. I can't take on 5 buyers for properties less than $20,000. I just can't. I mean, I'm already losing money. When I get in the car, I lose money. And as you know, I'm self-financing this business. I don't have Wall Street behind me. I'm not a public company. I'm literally financing this business myself. And so I cannot continually take properties at a loss. But again, if you're a good person, I mean, good to me, nice, friendly, want to sell a house and move somewhere else, then we have to talk. That's regardless of color. That's regardless of location. I mean, and that's just the way it is. Is it quote unquote dangerous for me to work in areas that might be a little dicey? Yes, I suspect so. But again, like, if somebody else is living there and they're treating me respectfully, why would I refuse to go there? That's why this article is so difficult for me to put into a podcast, is because I really can't express how terrible this act was. I mean, and they settled. They didn't even bother to go to, they may have been in court, but they didn't even bother to fight it in court. Really, they settled. And with them settling, I mean, to me, that indicates, obviously in the settlement, they indicated no wrongdoing, but that's not even close to right. And what's interesting, some people were saying, well, perhaps Redfin was targeted because they have employees and not, they're not commissioned salespeople. Well, it's interesting. Maybe because they have employees, they have to do what they're doing, because their business model wouldn't work on a commission basis. And so that's another issue, is like, so is in this particular line of work, selling homes, okay, if you did make it employee all across the United States, would you get more instances of racism or non-service to vulnerable communities? It's a question that I'm asking. I don't know the answer. I mean, I'll always be commissioned. I'm used to it. It's the way I live. Okay. But then I told you how Deerwood Realty works. So this is problematic to me. So I didn't believe this when I read it. Okay. I didn't read this. I didn't believe this, because the idea, like, you have a $500,000 house in Detroit right now. Redfin isn't working with you based on this. I couldn't believe that. So I looked at the I don't know what this is called. This is the settlement agreement. Okay. These are the facts of the case. And so I couldn't believe it, but they go through everything about this. And when you get here, the national operating changes and enhancement, a limit of minimum home price. Oh, this is the settlement itself. Okay. This isn't the lawsuit that was fired or the lawsuit that was filed. I'll have to get that. Since we're here, let's talk about it, because I want to see if it works on if it does, like, does this, okay. So here we go. This is where they write the complaint And this is where they talk about the things, and I couldn't believe it. I don't care about, like, these are all, like, in my opinion, government, NGOs. These are all people that get money from the government to go search fair housing violations. And I think that's predatory and terrible, but they found something here. They go through this. Now, here's where I'm just going to here. It says that it talks about their business model. Okay. But then, Redfin's minimum price limit varies from various region to region, as well as from area to area, given within the given region or market in a manner that discriminates. For example, Redfin's minimum price limit in the city of Chicago in June 2020 ranged from $100,000 to $380,000, while in an adjacent, predominantly white DuPage County, the minimum price limit was $100,000. And then, even more striking, in June of 2020, Redfin did not offer its brokerage services to buyers and sellers in the homes of the city of Chicago unless the homes met a minimum price threshold of $400,000. In DuPage County, however, Redfin offered its brokerage services to buyers and sellers of homes that met a minimum price threshold of only $275,000. Now, to defend this, and so it's in here, it's got that. So the Fast Company article was critical to me understanding or finding an understanding or finding a way through this. Like, oh my God, are you really doing this in America in 2022? And you're going to get away with it by paying a $4 million slap on the wrist? I don't know what Redfin's profits were. I'm just going to search now because, again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with a podcast that, all right, let's go 2021. I'm sorry. And I don't even want to use DuckDuckGo. I hate them. They're terrible. I got to get that fixed, but let's see. Let's see if this will work. Redfin posts a 40% revenue gain. That doesn't mean anything. Revenue is not profit. Hitting on all cylinders as housing market booms. This is in May 5th, 2021. But if you look here, February 18th, 2022, it says Redfin stock tanks after forecast shows losses expanding as buying business grows. Redfin says it will record a bigger loss in the first quarter than it did in all of 2021. Executives point to RentPath acquisition and hiring binge. Redfin shares plunged nearly 17% in after-hours trading after executives predicted losses the first quarter in 2022 that would exceed full-year losses in 2021 as the company maintains an iBusiness model that a rival dropped. It says they reported a fourth quarter loss of $27 million. Okay, now these are companies losing money per quarter. Okay. And after recording a profit of 11 cents per share the same quarter a year ago, revenue more than doubled from the year before, from $643 million to $244 million, easily topping analysts' expectations. So analysts on average expected Redfin to report losses of 31 cents a share. However, the decline was likely tied to the forecast, which was called for a first quarter loss of 115 to 125 million, more than the company lost in the entire 2021 calendar year. Now, this is during the best market ever. Last year in the first quarter, historically the slowest quarter for the company on both the top and bottom lines, Redfin lost 38 million, and analysts that were on average were expecting a loss of 75 million. And says Redfin executives guided for first quarter revenue of 535 million to 560 million, with the bulk coming from its properties division, which they expect to collect 330 million to 350 million in revenue. That division, which is almost entirely made up of iBuying, produced record revenue of $377 million in the quarter, up from less than 40 million in the fourth quarter of 22. The issue is, to me, like, it's to me, like, it's just, I don't know how to explain this. They just keep losing. They're allowed to lose money. Okay. Redfin did not close a net loss in the business, though it did disclose that the company's total interest expense was roughly the same total of the gross profit margin of the company's property division, $3.96 million in gross profit versus $3.94 billion in interest expense. So it says it disclosed that it sold a record 600 homes in the quarter for average of $622,000 a piece, and the gross profit in the business was less than $4 million. What are you doing spending so much money and making so little? I mean, it's bizarre to me. And so that's what I'm saying. Here's a company that loses money consistently. They don't get punished. And then when they do commit a terrible violation of fair housing, they get a fine, and then they're allowed to move on. Meanwhile, if I'd pulled any of this shit, I would be, I'd be out of business. So it's so bizarre to me. So, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it in a short amount of time? Because I don't want to ramble, but I just wanted to, I don't know. I guess, I don't know. What is Redfin's? Let's see here. That's not helpful. What is Redfin's RDFN? Okay, so let's look at Yahoo Finance. And I'm going to go on DuckDuckGo, and I'm sorry. Here we go. RDFN. I think that's helpful. And again, I don't care if Redfin wants to use employees versus paid, versus commission salespeople. I don't care. What is this? What was that? An ad? Why didn't I just get to what I wanted? Okay. So my question is did they make money for the year? Their earnings per share is negative 1.12. I mean, what am I to make of this? This is the hottest market ever for sellers, and you're coming in at negative 1.12 earnings per share. I don't know if that's quarterly. I don't know if that's what that is right now. Let's look at the financials. They have to report financials. I'm not very good at this. Here we go. On a pre-tax income basis, they've not made money. They don't make money. They haven't made any money since before 2020. Here's 2021. They don't break it out. Total operating income is just terrible. Net income from continuing. I mean, this is ridiculous. They raise their revenues and they lose money. So that's my problem with all of it is, you're basically financing discrimination. I mean, this is crazy. Wall Street is funding this garbage. I mean, can you believe that? I can't. It's just crazy to me. So anyway, what did we learn today? I think I'm gonna head out. Like I don't, as I've talked about it with you, I'm still working on a way to present the information in such a way that makes sense. I don't care if you grow revenues if you're not profitable. What difference does that make? To me, you can argue it differently. Look, I've only got my MBA. There's people that know business way better than I do. Seriously, and I'm not joking. I mean, anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Look for that podcast to be out today, later this afternoon when I find a way to put it together. I know I've ran long, but I wanted to work on it through you. Now, I would have loved to see you in the chat, but no one was there, and that is what it is. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'll catch you tomorrow, 9 a.m.